real quick. I was talking to my homegirl, and I was just saying how, we really have to be careful. We really have to be careful with how we treat people in relationships. And I was using the example of being in toxic relationships. Like, for instance, for me, I was in a 6-year relationship with, in my opinion, with just somebody who wasn't mentally there, and I didn't recognize how unstable his mind was until I got out and spoke to him, recently, maybe a year ago. It was last year or whatever. And so, but I also want to highlight some other things too, as far as like taking responsibility for the type of people that you choose as well. But I'll start first with, being careful with how you treat people. You don't know what people have gone through in their life. You don't know what traumatic experiences people have gone through. And, although, once again, people do need to look at themselves and hold themselves accountable about the types of people that they decide to choose to be with, or the type of relationships they choose to get into. But, when you get into certain situations with people who want to take advantage of you, or manipulative, or lying, playing games, being spiteful, like all those, just, to me, it's like mind games. You gotta be careful, because you might be the straw that break the camel's back, and you can really get hurt out here. And I'm not promoting, anybody putting their hands on anybody or hurting anybody, but like, once again, you just don't know who you're messing with, and you don't know a person's mental stability or a person's mental state, and you could get hurt out here in these streets. And so, I was more so, and I'm not saying that, I don't want to make this gender specific, because I think anybody can do this, any female or male could do this, but for me, I have been in a lot of situations where men would play games, and they knew what they were doing, and at the end of the day, it's like, when you keep doing the same stuff over and over and over again. And I remember my homegirl telling me this. She said, at this point in my relationship, I don't know why he keeps on playing these games with me, because I am not mentally stable at this point. And it's funny, because she was able to recognize that she was not mentally stable. And yes, it's all because you choose to stay with some dude that is not treating you well, But I do want to highlight to those people out there, if you're doing that, if you are the cause, or if you are playing with people's minds, just be careful, because, you really could get hurt. That's why you see people on Snapped, people get killed, all that good stuff. Just be careful, because you think that, you continuing to act the way you act, and you're just going to get away with doing certain things. You may roll up on the wrong person, legit. And that's just a warning for those people out there who want to play games with people's minds and hearts. Just be careful, bruh. Be careful. But on the flip side, if you are somebody who finds yourself in the same type of situations where people are taking your kindness for weakness, they're being manipulative, they are lying, cheating, or just being spiteful, or just being passive aggressive, all those mind games, at some point you are going to have to take responsibility for your actions. And you are going to have to maybe take some time out for yourself. Don't date, or just kind of focus on self-healing. Because if you don't focus on self-healing, if you don't focus on trying to get your mind right, and you just, go from this person to the next person, and not even just relationships, romantic relationships, can be friendships too. If you don't take that break to just kind of focus on self and really just kind of get back to yourself, you're not helping yourself or anybody else. And you don't think clearly, you don't see clearly. Like when and I'm not, it's no judgment. I was there, and I'm so glad that God stepped in and he didn't allow for me to have close friends for a whole, probably a good, I'll say 6 months. I would try to have close friendships and they just would not work. It just for some reason. And so I remember talking to my mom, and she said, Nina, maybe God just wants you to be alone. Maybe God just wants you to spend time with him right now. And take it as a good thing, not a negative thing. So I would just complain, yeah, I can't, I can't keep no friends. I can't, the friends that I have are acting like this, blah, blah. And so my mom was just, she just kind of brought that up to me. And I'm so thankful for the people in my life that can kind of speak life into me and just kind of bring me back to truth and say, hey, maybe right now you just need to focus on your relationship with Christ. Get in your word. And those words that my mom said and I was already in my word at that time, but I was trying to be in my word and also be friends with people. And I think that just in that particular time period, God really wanted me to focus on me and his relationship. And it was a hard time, because I love relationships and I love friendships and I love people and stuff like that. So it was hard for me to be alone. It was very lonely. But let me tell you something. I look back at that time and I am so grateful. I'm so appreciative that I had that moment of time to just focus on me and God. And I started to see that my eye, how the Bible talks about how take the plank out of your eye so you can clearly see, or you can clearly see to help take the speck out of your brother's eye. It's kind of like that. During that time period, God revealed to me that my eyes were just clouded, and when I mean eye, your mentality, your heart, my mindset was it was off. It was very dark, and so if I didn't spend that time with God, I don't think that, I'm not saying that I wouldn't have in time, but I think it probably would have taken a little longer maybe for me to heal or whatever, and so I definitely learned that because my perception of people was dark and I had a dark perception and a dark outlook on certain things, I couldn't clearly see situations for what it is. And so I needed to spend that time with God so I can get clarity on the situations that happened in my life. I could get clarity on, what just occurred in my life. And then not only that, I could get clarity on current situations. And then moving forward, I could see things clearer. I didn't have a negative perception. So for instance, sometimes if you don't focus on self-healing, if you don't focus on, bettering yourself, you will continue in life and a situation will remind you of what happened to you in the past, and you'll instantly think something negative instead of, okay, let me look at this situation how God sees it, because God has clear eyes. He can see things, for how it's supposed to be. And so during that time period, my discernment, that increased. My gift of discernment increased. I'm not saying that I'm out here just the best discernment person or, I have the best discernment, but my discernment increased. And even over time, since then, and it didn't just take 6 months for me to like increase my discernment or for me to see things I'm still growing in love. You know what I'm saying? So over time, as I got around good community, started hanging around people that had the heart of God, and that could love on me, and that really helped with my healing. I got into a prayer team, and what shocked me is they were concerned about me and they would pray for me. I remember one time when I had a disagreement with one of my prayer team members, and I left, and one of my prayer team people, they recorded a prayer for me. And I come from a church culture where if you would have a disagreement with the leader, they would call you a demon. They would say, this is just blah, 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 and, this is a spirit of confusion, and they would blame it on you. But instead, he started warring for me. He started praying for me. He started speaking blessings over me. He started speaking life over me. And I was out of the room. I had gotten in my car and I had left and I was gone because I was like, I'm not about to deal with these people. I'm done. And he started speaking good things about me, and I was like, wow, it's crazy how you can, leave a place and people with the heart of God, they want the best for you, instead of like talking bad about you. And then that once again, that broke off some of that negative perception of people, and so like I said, over time, my negative perception and just my discernment and my heart and my love increased because I decided, I'm making a decision, I want to be better, I want to do better, and then on top of that, with your discernment getting better, you can look at certain clues and you can say, okay, this situation isn't healthy for me. And you also have to get honest with yourself. You can't handle everything. That's another thing that God is teaching me. If there's certain people who, are a little off or they may have some issues, know your capacity for them. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love them less. It just means that, hey, at this particular time period of my life, I'm too broken or I'm not mature enough to handle your problems or your issues that you have. I believe that God sends folks he'll send people for people, so he may have the right person to help build that person who has that issue. But you may not have that yet. And God's still trying to work on your heart. So it's probably best that you kind of just leave that person alone because it'll end up hindering your growth process. So there's some people that I had to I couldn't be around because I knew that it was going to hinder my growth process, And then there are some times where the challenge of being around people who were different from me or may be a little difficult to be around, it actually helped me to love them better. So, you have to just, once again, like I said, all this came because I spent time with the Lord. I was intentional about, growing. I was intentional about, I want to be better. And in time, it helped me to look at situations. Okay, I can handle this situation. Okay, I can't handle this situation. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't since made poor decisions in certain situations or poor judgment. I have made poor judgment, assessment of situations. And I'm just like, yeah, that was just a bad judgment call on my end. And guess what? There was grace. The great thing about grace is that when I made the mistake or when I saw the error of my ways, I said, okay, what can I take from my mistakes that I can learn from it and grow from it? Instead of, dang, I made a mistake, woe is me, and I'm such a bad person, and I'm so stupid. because that's the type of thoughts and things that I would say to myself in the past. But now that I have a better relationship with Christ, instead of me harping on the negative, I own up to my mistakes and say, okay, I made a mistake. Okay, now how can I grow from here? Instead of just like staying in a dark place, So all of that, like I said, when it comes to making better decisions and about your relationships, that is what helped me or whatever. But once again, let me just reiterate it. Y'all quit playing with folks' heart out here, okay? All right? And then also, lastly, if you see yourself in the same cycle, and people are telling you, people who care about you are telling you, yo, you keep making these same, decisions, you need to listen to them, because that's most likely God trying to warn you and let you know, like, bruh, there's better for you. And you keep, making these decisions and putting yourself into these situations, these bad situations that's not good for your heart. And it's only causing you to have a more calloused heart. And see, God wants our hearts to not be calloused. He wants our hearts to be, ever growing, growing in love. It doesn't make no sense for you to keep making the same decisions, bad decisions, and you're 45 or you're 50 and you all hard and you all, when you get older, you should be getting wiser. You should be getting better. Not, have you ever seen like old people and they just mean for no reason? Like, we don't want to be like that. As we get older, we want to be better. So, hey, I'm growing with y'all. So, and if I can share anything that has helped me, that can help the next person, I'll just share it. If you take it, you take it. If you can't receive it, hey, it is what it is. But that's pretty much it, y'all. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.